Hello, this is Calvin Jones from the Climate Change Action blog. So, following on from my previous video, which was about sustainability and its true meaning, I posed a question: what can we do about economic growth? I'm saying economic growth is a problem. I'm sure most people think, oh no, economic growth is a problem. Economic growth is taking people out of poverty. And that's absolutely right. If you look at China and India and basically most of the developing world, there's huge amounts of poverty remaining. Particularly in India and China, they might have now significant middle classes. Certain banks say that India's got a population of 60 million as far as they're concerned, because they're the 60 million high income earners. Forget about over a billion of them. So development is absolutely essential. But what we really need to look at is the fact that development does not equal growth. In certain circumstances, it does. If you look at the chart of living conditions, of health, of well-being, of just how happy people are, and then you look at GDP, you find that this correlates very well up until around $10,000 US. And after that, there's a decoupling. There's just not a link. Sometimes you've got a high GDP and you've got happy people, and sometimes you don't. It just doesn't. To start with, the improvement in healthcare, the decreased work hours, certain things as the GDP increases make the biggest difference in basic quality of life things. Beyond that, extra stress at work, uncertainty, depression, a whole range of other factors kick in. So it's all about how the society is run, and in fact one of the most important things is the amount of equality within a society. If you look at the Nordic countries, which often come up the top of these polls that the UN does on quality of life, the reason for that is that people see them relative to other people as being not very different. But if you look at like the US or the UK, the disparity between the wealthiest and the poorest is quite extreme. It's remarkable, actually. I was looking into Bolivia for an article I'm writing on Bolivia, and the disparity between wealth of the former colonialists, primarily of Spanish descent, and the native people is vast. It's about 40 times. It's something along those lines. Or if you look at the top few percent, like the top 5%, they own over 90% of the land. And obviously everyone's pointed out that for Bolivia's development, this is a terrible situation. Then if you look at America, it's the same. It's got one of the widest gaps between wealth and poverty of any nation. And this is why on Quality of Life Index it does very poorly on a large range of metrics. So if we want to continue to develop, then we've really got to define more closely what development is in a more sensible way. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is currently we've got a linear system of production. So we take something out of the ground, we process it, we waste a lot of it in that process. We produce a product, we use it once, we throw it away. We can make systems cyclical. This is going a lot further than recycling, although recycling is part of it. Currently recycling is more accurately termed downcycling, because you get a product, for example a plastic bottle, and you put that back into the system. Typically, recycling rates are pretty low, but the part that you capture and put back into the system, for many plastics, that is degraded. The plastic is degraded, and it can only be used for something bulk and not highly processed again. If you need a lump of plastic for something or whatever, basically you can't make sophisticated things out of that plastic. It doesn't have the same technical properties. So you might use it for carpet, for example. A lot of so-called recycled carpets come from plastic, so it's been degraded, and the only thing you can do with that plastic is to make carpet. So making products, designing them from the outset to be repaired first and foremost, but also reused. The materials actually taken and recycled 100% effectively. For example, I think polypropylene can be used more or less infinitely as long as you keep it pure. If you don't create any monstrous hybrids of plastics and non-recyclable materials that make the process of recycling usable. So therefore, if the more that you manage to make the systems cyclical, the more that you can have economic growth without throughput of natural resources. So this is one part of the solution. And I'm reading a book called Cradle to Cradle, which includes a lot of discussion about this. The other part, of course, is efficiency. So if you're going to use something again and again and design it to be used again and again, then that's brilliant. But if you can also make sure that the thing you're designing uses, 1/4 or 1/10 the actual amount of resources to do it, then that's a good start. And in many cases, this sort of thing is it's the simplest thing in the world to do. Once you start looking at it, once there's a motive to do that sort of thing. Another very important idea, I think anyway, comes from Amory Lovins, or that's where I've learnt this concept from, which is basically that you stop selling as many products and you start selling more services. The reason for this is that if you've got a product, say a light bulb, then when you go to buy it, you look for the cheapest light bulb. That's what people do. And if the cheapest light bulb is not an energy efficient light bulb, then you might buy it and then you figure out only afterwards that you're actually paying a lot of money to produce the energy for that light bulb. So that's a waste, and that's not a sensible decision. And this is because the upfront costs for product and upfront costs matter a lot to businesses. So there's a competition between what's a wise investment and the capital expenditure that you actually have. So if someone was providing lighting services for your business or for your house or whatever, then you would just look for the lowest rate per month. And for them, the lowest rate per month, they could be most competitive if they had like a certain number of compact fluorescents and they were just putting these into people's housing, and they had full control of the electricity and the lighting. They bundled these together to provide their service, and obviously the best combination for them would include compact fluorescents. That's kind of a trivial example, but there are a lot of things like this. For example, BT is currently doing a significant amount to lower its environmental impact. But one problem they've got is a lot of their products they sell have a very low pricing point. So they can provide phones or modems which use virtually no energy, but it costs them 5–10% more. And these products are the pricing point for them is critical to how many of them they sell. So there's no point at the moment for them to make more energy efficient products, because people are buying less efficient ones because they happen to be cheaper at the point of purchase. Whereas if organisations like BT would sell services, then which would include they'd provide the box and then they'd replace it when they had an upgrade, or they'd repair it, whatever was cheapest for them, and that would be an incentive obviously to have some staff who can easily repair these things, skilled in that. So if they can provide the service and the energy and all these things together, then that is another way to make it more sensible, help people make more sensible decisions.